Hello and welcome to Code Tutorials. In this video, we're going to cover a section of the key themes global options focused on the portfolio. During the course of the video, you'll be able to see the effect these options have and how to use them. As we cover the themes options, I'll be using one of the demos to show you the options effects. The demo I'll be using, just a moment while I find it, is this one, Packaging Design. I'll open it so we can take a peek. So this is the demo's homepage. It's portfolio focused, which makes it an excellent candidate for showing you the effect different global theme options can have on your site and its pages. As part of my prep work, I already installed the key theme and imported the demo content so we can dive in directly. If you need any help with either installation or import, you can find the steps for them in our video on how to create a free WordPress website with key theme. So now I can go back to the dashboard and we can start going through the global options for the portfolio that you get with the key theme. You can find these options under Qode Essential Add-ons, Options. The first thing I want to take care of there is this box about data usage. I'm going to allow it as it provides developers with information for improving products. In this case, the product is the key theme. Okay then, I can open the portfolio options. A few things before we start. Yes, I am deliberately skipping the options above the portfolio because we tackled them in a separate video. If this doesn't cover the options you need, then you can check out the other videos in the Key Theme Global Options playlist. Next, the options we'll be looking at, and indeed all the options under Qode Essential Add-ons, are for setting some site-wide rules and determining things concerning the overall style and layout of your pages. It's important to remember that these options aren't used for adding content. They simply allow us to set how the pages, in this case our portfolio, will look. The things we set here will apply to the entire site. However, you will be able to make exceptions using the options within individual pages and page elements. Okay, now our global theme portfolio options contain 3 tabs, the first of which is Portfolio List. And you can see from this sort of subtitle that the settings below apply to portfolio archive pages. An archive page is, well, an archive. It serves to list and organize your site's posts or categories and tags. Yes, categories and tags have archive pages of their own. Let me show you. I'll open my product list page and then click on the category. That's this here. I'll drag the tab closer. And this is what the category archive page looks like. It shows all the single portfolio items belonging to that specific category. Archive pages are part of the WordPress template hierarchy, and while they are created automatically, you need to make separate adjustments in order to be able to use them on your site. Why is all of this relevant for us now? Well, as I mentioned, the first tab of the portfolio options works on portfolio archive pages. The demo I'm using displays the portfolio list on its home using the portfolio list widget from our Qi Addons for Elementor plugin, so the options here won't affect the home page. To modify the look and behavior of the home page, I'd have to change the options in the widget itself. However, we're here to demonstrate the theme's global options, and to show them to you, I'll be using this category archive page instead. And the first option we'll look at is the item layout. As we can see, the default setting is Info below. If we look at the category archive page, we can see it. The information is placed under the image. The alternative to this is Info follow. Save and refresh. The text is not immediately visible, but when I hover, there's this information bubble following my cursor. Then the next setting is Info on hover box. Save and refresh. With this one, hovering over a single will bring up information on it. Okay, and our final setting is the Info on hover. And that gets you, just a sec, refresh. We get this block color overlay with the information on a portfolio single. So those are the different layouts you can use. After this, we have the number of columns option. And there are several settings you can choose from. Right now it's set to 3, but let's see what 4 columns might look like. And save changes. Then refresh. And there. This is what it looks like. The items in the list automatically adjust their size to fit the new setting. Finally, we have the space between items option. It has several settings representing different sizes for you to choose from. Using them, you can adjust this gap between individual items. I'll put, for example, large 25 pixels and save. Now let's see what the change in spacing looks like. And there, now I have 25 pixels between the different portfolio items, creating a bigger gap. Alright, since this was the last option that I needed an archive page for, I'll just close this tab now. And I'll put all the settings back to how they were. Just a moment. Okay, so this was the Portfolio List tab, and now we can move on to the second tab, Portfolio Single. So these are settings for the individual pages that make up your portfolio. For demonstrating how these options work, starting with the single layout, I'll open a Portfolio Single. This one, for example. Simply click on it. And this is what the single looks like by default. Its setting is called Images Small. Other than that one, there is a range of layouts you can use. They offer different image sizes and different arrangements of the images and text on the page. In practice, the default setting looks like this. It has a column of small-ish images on the page, and on the top right side we have the information about the portfolio single. I'll show you the other layouts in a bit, but let's look at the other options first. Other than the layout, we can set the space between images. This field may be blank, but the option comes with a default value, and you can see that on the page. This is the default space between images, and if you want to change it, you simply need to input a new value here. I'll put 70 pixels, and save changes. Then refresh the page, and here, the space between images has grown larger. Okay, I'll restore the default value, and save. Then let's check the page. Alright, it's back. The option after that is the space between items. Its settings offer several possibilities, and the option itself affects this space here, between the images and the text. So basically, you can think of this column of images as one item and the description as another item, hence the space between items option. For this one, I'll set enormous or 60 pixels. Save and refresh. And there, I have 60 pixels now between my images and text. Okay, let me put it back and save changes. Then refresh. After that, we have the title tag, an option that lets us pick which tag will be applied to the portfolio item's titles. Since the default setting is H3, I'll switch it to H1 so we can see the effect the change would have. And refresh. Alright, we can see the title is much larger now. Okay, I'll put it back the way it was. And save. Then refresh. Okay. Next, there's the Set Content Order option. It lets us pick what kind of content the portfolio single will show first, the images or the text. Right now, it's set to media first, meaning images. So on the page, the text is here on the right and the images are on the left. However, this is not exactly due to the content order option, as that only determines if the images will be at the top or the bottom, not left or right. So to show you how this option works, I first need to change the layout of my single, as the one I have right now won't be affected by the change. I'll use Images Big for this, and save changes. Then refresh. So this layout has the images displayed in larger dimensions, and it's only after you scroll past all the images that you get to the text. Given this arrangement, if I switch the content order to Info first, then because this option moves select content to the top or the bottom, the change will be noticeable. Refresh. And there. The information about the portfolio single is at the top now, and then it's followed by all the images. Okay, I won't reset this yet. I want to show you the Set Info Item Text Position option first. It's set to below by default. Let me show you. This here, the client, designer, category, date, and anything else you choose to set, is our info item. The text within our info item is everything that's not bolded. So Julia Murphy, Daniel Ward, etc. And this is set to below. If we switch it to adjacent, just a sec, refresh, there, the text shifts to stand next to the labels. Okay, I'll set this back to the way it was. This too. Save changes and refresh. Alright, it's all good. Our next option is for enabling the navigation. It's on by default, so this page has the previous and next navigation links. They allow for easy browsing through the portfolio singles. If we set this to no, save changes and refresh. There. Then here, the navigation has vanished entirely. I'll activate it again. Save changes. Now, if you opt to keep the navigation, then you'll have this option, navigate through same category. This is disabled right now, but if you enable it, then anyone using the previous and next navigation links to move through the singles will only get to see the category they start from. Whereas keeping this disabled will mean that the navigation will show all the singles in your portfolio one after another, regardless of their category. Okay, I'll go to the page and refresh it to get the navigation back. And now if I click on Next, I'm taken to the next portfolio single. And clicking on Previous takes me back to the one I started from. And yes, it's just the way I left it. Alright, we've reached the end of our portfolio single tab options. So I can go back to the start and show you some of the layout settings you can use. The one that's on right now is Images Big, but let's see, for example, Gallery Big. Save changes and refresh. Now my single has all its images arranged in a row and they are stretched out as far as the grid allows. In my case, the grid is limited to the width of 1300 pixels. By the way, if I had more images, they would form a second row. These images are part of the content of my portfolio single. If you want to remove some or add more or change any of the content, then you need to access your portfolio single and its settings. That's done by going to Qode Portfolio. And here we have a list of all the portfolio singles on my site. The one I'm using right now for my showcase is called Magnetic Closures. Let me open it up. And here we are. This page has some settings of its own. There are several tabs, but you'll notice some of the options reflect those we saw in the global theme settings for the portfolio, such as the single layout. This is where we can make exceptions to anything set in the global options. You can change the layout of this single while keeping all the others looking the same. And we have another familiar option here, Set Content Order, and it has the same settings we've seen before. We can switch between having the images first or the text first on the page. Then, if we scroll down, we'll reach the Media Settings section. This is where you can upload your images. This is where you can find the 3 images from the portfolio single. If we look at the page, there they are. While we're in these options, I'd like to show you one more thing. If you scroll further down under Info Items, you'll find the fields where you can enter additional information about your portfolio single. So if you want to create additional entries, this is where you do that. Or you can remove an existing one using the red button with the bin. Okay, I just wanted you to be aware that you have some options here on the page, but since they're not our focus in this video, let's get back to the global theme settings. I'll close this tab. Now, we were looking at the different layouts you can use for your portfolio singles. Let's take a look at Gallery Small. Save changes and refresh. With this layout, the images are smaller, placed on the left, and the text is next to them on the right. Let's try another setting. I'll put on Slider Big. Save changes and then refresh. Now this layout has the text at the bottom and the top is occupied by a large slider showing the images. The slider is stretched as far as the grid allows and it has these navigation arrows that make flicking through the images easy. Okay, let's see what else we have. Let's try Slider Small, save changes, and then refresh the page. And here, the slider has kept its navigation arrows and both it and the text fit within the limits of the grid. Okay, with that I've shown you all the single layouts you can use except the custom ones because that's something you have to build by yourself and it's going to be different for everyone. Okay, I'll set this back to our default setting, Images Small. Save and refresh. Alright, back the way it was. So this leads us to our third and final tab, Portfolio Info Typography. It contains options for setting anything to do with the text visible in your portfolio list. So the first option is for changing the color of the category name. I should first refresh the page with my portfolio list, as earlier I changed its layout to make the text visible. There it is. Now I can see about changing the color. I'll remove the existing setting and set this, for example. Save changes and refresh. There. This text showing the category of each single in the list is now orange. It changes its color on hover, but we'll get to that in a bit. For now, let me bring this closer. Okay. And I'll restore the original color. Just a sec. There. Save and refresh the page. Okay. Our next option is font family, where we can pick a new font. For example, I'll set this one, and I'll adjust the font size while I'm at it and set 18 pixels. Then save and refresh. There, the category name is now larger and uses a different font. So those are pretty standard typography options. I'll put them back so we can carry on. Then save, refresh. Alright. Then we have the line height option. I'll set 43 pixels to show you the effect. It should increase the space above and below the portfolio singles category. And there, we can see there's a bigger gap here and here. Okay, I'll restore the original value and then use the letter spacing option to set 3 pixels, just so we can see how it would look. And refresh. Now we can see the letters in the category name have been pulled apart. I'll clear this now. Then save and refresh. Then we have the font weight, which is set to light 300. I'll set bold 700 here to show you the difference. Save, refresh, and there, the category text is noticeably thicker. Okay, let me put this back the way it was. Save and check the page too. Okay, perfect. After that, we have the text transform option. This lets you set the title to be, for example, all lowercase or uppercase. I'll show you how the uppercase setting looks. Just a moment, refresh, and there. This is what the uppercase looks like. Before I reset this, I can show you the font style. I'll set it to italic. Save and refresh. There it is. Okay, putting these two back. Alright. Finally, we can pick the text decoration for the category name. I'll set an overline here so we can see how that would look. Refresh. And there. The category name is back to its original look. It just has a line above it. But that line vanishes when I hover over it. So the decoration, and as we've seen earlier, the color behave differently on hover. That's because we have separate settings for these things for the display on hover. The first setting is the color. I'll remove the original and set this orange shade instead, and save, then refresh. Now when I hover over the category name, the text turns orange. Alright, I'll set it back to the way it was. And save changes. Then refresh. Right. After that, we have the link hover text decoration. The selection of settings is the same as for the regular text decoration. I'm going to set something different this time, say line through. Save and refresh. Now when I hover, there's my line through on hover. Now we have a third option in the hover style settings, and that is the draw hover text decoration. By switching it to yes, you enable an animated effect that works with the link hover text decoration. However, turning this on will mean that your plain text decoration will be overwritten. Let me show you how that looks in practice. And there, my overline is gone. But when I hover, the line through has this animation where it seems like it's being drawn as we watch it. Alright, I'll restore all these options back to their original values. There. And refresh. Let me check. Okay, excellent. So that's one section down and one to go. In the General Typography section, we have options for setting the look of the typography within the portfolio single items, such as this one. And the first part is for the info label styles. We can set the color here. I'm going to replace this with the orange that has served me well so far. And refresh. There, all the labels are orange now. Let me set this back. OK, save changes, and refresh. Right, next we have all these options that match the ones we've already gone through. The only difference is that they affect the labels instead of the category text, so there's no need to cover them again. Rather, let's take a look at something new, the margin bottom option. I'll set 50 pixels here to show you how it works, and refresh. There, the space under the label but before the info text is much larger now. Too large, in fact. Let me reset it. OK, save. And refresh. Perfect. The second part of this section is for the portfolio info styles. That's the text under the labels. I'll give it a new color so we can see how it looks on the page. Save. Refresh. And the text in all the items has turned red. Hovering over them has no effect until we reach the category. That's because the category name acts as a link. OK, I'll set the color back to the default. Then all the options after it are, again, the same as the ones above, so I think we can safely skip explaining them. Instead, let's take a peek at the portfolio info link styles. The first option is for the link hover color. Let me replace it with a new one so we can see how it looks. Save changes, and refresh. Now the info text is back to normal at first glance, but hovering over the category name shows that the new link hover color is there. Alright, let me put this back. Save and refresh. Now my portfolio page is back to the way it started. And this wraps up the options in the portfolio section of the global theme options. But there are a few options outside of this section that you might find useful when working on your portfolio. You can find them in the typography section. We've already spoken of some typography options, but they were all for the labels or the text that accompanies them. What about this title and text here? They are both part of your portfolio single item, but they can only be changed using the typography section options. The title on my demo has the H3 tag. So let me switch to the tab with the H3 typography options. So we can change all the same stuff as before, such as the color. Let me set a different one. There, save, and refresh. There it is. Keep in mind that changing the color here will change the color of all the other H3 titles across your site. OK, I'll reset the color now. Save. And another useful option is in the H4 typography settings. Oh, I got carried away. Let me check the single to make sure it's back to how it should be. Yes, alright. Now, what I started to mention is the H4 title, and we have an example of that in our portfolio list. It's the titles like this one. So, as with all the others, we have some typography options that let us adjust it. Please note, the options here will affect every H4 title on your site. However, anything you set differently within a given page or a given widget, such as a portfolio list widget, will act as an exception to this rule. Okay, one of the things we can change here is the color. I realize you're familiar with it by now, but it makes for a really effective change, so it's useful for our show and tell. And there it is. I'll reset this now. And check that the change has taken effect on the page. And that's it. We covered all the global portfolio options and took a peek at some other useful options as well as some of the options offered on the portfolio single page. Hopefully you found this demonstration of the Qi Themes portfolio options helpful. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments or suggestions, please drop us a line in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be the first to learn about new tutorials and theme guides.